Hey everyone, I was asked by a few people to do a video on possible scenarios for the 2016 election. I am a Trump supporter, so today I'm going to kind of go over some possible scenarios of how Trump could win and what states he's going to need to win in order to get there. So I got onto the 270 to win map. This is their competitive map. Shows you all of the states that they think are likely to go Democrat and Republican, and then the ones that aren't shaded are the battleground states. So the electoral map has favored Hillary Clinton since the start, having the entire Northeast, the upper Midwest, and the West Coast gives her, already a huge advantage in the electoral vote count. As you can see, 249 to 153 for Trump. Now, there are a few ways for Trump to get to 270, but as of right now, his paths are pretty limited. But I will go over a few ways that he could possibly get there. So, the West Coast is not going to change. None of those states are going to go Republican. The closest that Trump is probably in Oregon. He's down by about 7 or 8 points, but historically, that state has went Democrat, so that I don't foresee him getting that one. Nevada has been an interesting one the last few days because Hillary Clinton has been struggling in that state. Actually, she barely won it over Bernie Sanders, and Trump won it in the primaries by a pretty good margin, even though it was a caucus state. Trump has a lot of support in Nevada. He's got a lot of business dealings in Nevada. I don't think necessarily Clinton is well liked in Nevada. An article recently came out saying that Trump had a really good chance of winning the state. So we will put that in Trump's column. Arizona, the poll recently came out from CNN showing Trump up 5 in a 4-way race, which is pretty good. I'm from Arizona. I deal with a lot of local and in-state politics, and I can tell you without a doubt that Trump will win Arizona. So we're going to put that in his column. Nebraska, even though they have it shaded, he will win all electoral votes in Alaska, in Nebraska, as well as the rest of the Midwest. Now, here's the interesting part. Obama won Iowa for the last 2 election cycles by pretty small margins. This year, I feel like it favors Trump in a big way because it has an older white population, not a lot of younger liberals. So I'm actually going to give that state to Trump, just for that reason. Missouri, even though they say it's a battleground, it will shift Republican in the end. Georgia, same way, will shift Republican. And now we come to kind of the meat and potatoes of the 2016 race. So Trump has to win Florida. And in any of these scenarios, he has to pick up Florida. If he doesn't pick up Florida, he loses the race. It's just plain and simple because I don't believe he's going to pick up Ohio and Pennsylvania both. He might get one of the two, but he's not going to get up both. He has to win Florida. So the polls that have recently come out have favored Trump in Florida. That state's really evenly divided. Obama barely beat Romney in that state. Trump overwhelmingly won in the primary against Marco Rubio. So I'm actually going to give that state to Trump because I do feel like he has a good chance to win that state. North Carolina, they say it's a battleground state. They have Hillary leading by about 5 or 6 points in that state. Romney won it in 2012 over Obama. I think Trump will pick it up in the end. As you can see, it's pretty close in the electoral count, but it kind of comes down to these states right here, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire. Now, Trump has claimed that he can turn Pennsylvania, but recently the polls have showed that he's down by about 8 to 10 points overall in that state. Even though he says, and he has big rallies there and everything, being down that type of a margin just is not, it's not winnable at this current point. If he can bring it within, 3 to 4 points, he might have a chance, but right now being down 10, it's looking like he will lose that state. So if we give that to Hillary, it actually puts her at 269 exactly. and that brings it back down to these two scenarios right here, Ohio and New Hampshire. Trump is losing to Hillary by about 3 to 4 points in Ohio right now. I think it was a disaster that John Kasich did not endorse Trump. I think if he would have, I think Trump would have had a really good shot at winning the state. But for the sake of things, let's just say Trump gets Ohio. Look at what that puts it at, 269 to 265. New Hampshire. Hampshire is probably the most conservative state in the highly liberal Northeast. New Hampshire voted for George W. Bush by a small margin in 2000, John Kerry in 2004, and then Obama the last two elections. Trump has a big base of support up in New Hampshire, whereas Hillary did not win that state. Bernie Sanders actually won that state pretty overwhelmingly. So, but let's just say she gets it. That would put her at 273 and Trump at 265. Now, here's a scenario that could possibly play out. Very unlikely, but it could. If Trump were to win New Hampshire, Ohio, and Florida, and then pick up all the other states that I have in play, which is very reasonable. He could pick up Nevada and he could pick up Iowa quite easily. If he does that, look at it. It's a dead heat in the electoral race. A dead heat. Now, what would happen if this were to occur? Well, the vote would actually go to the House of Representatives. They would basically decide who the president would be. This would most likely favor Trump, as it is a Republican majority in the House of Representatives. The crazy part is that not a lot of Republicans actually like Trump. A lot of establishment Republicans hate Trump, so that would be interesting to see how that played out, and if they would vote for Hillary instead of Trump. But I think overall, I think just to keep the Supreme Court from going extremely liberal, I think they would vote for Trump. The chances of it being a dead tie in the Electoral College are very, very unlikely. But it's very possible. Now, if we reset the map, we'll go over one more scenario. Let's give Clinton Nevada, even though I think Trump will win it. We'll give Trump Arizona again. We'll give Clinton Iowa, Trump Missouri, Trump Georgia, Trump Florida, Trump North Carolina. Look at where that puts it. If he were to win Pennsylvania and Ohio, he wins the presidency by 273 to 265. Now, I think this is quite unlikely. I don't think he's going to win Pennsylvania. It has not went Republican in decades. It's more of a younger liberal audience up in Pennsylvania. I think Trump will lose Pennsylvania, which puts him in a precarious spot. It's no coincidence that Hillary Clinton picked Tim Kaine out of Virginia because she wanted to lock up Virginia right away. She didn't want to have to battle over Virginia, which was a swing state in 2012. Right now, it's pretty solidly Democrat after picking Tim Kaine. I don't think that was her best choice for vice president, but I see why she did it. She did it to lock up that state, because if he was able to pull off Virginia and lose Pennsylvania, all he would have to do is pick up, Nevada, Iowa, or New Hampshire to win the election. But with Virginia being completely out of play, if he loses Pennsylvania or Florida for that matter, the race is over. So Trump's best two scenarios to win is the two that I just presented to you. He will not win Virginia. He will not win Colorado this election cycle. His best chance of winning this election is to either win Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Florida, those combinations, or trying to get it to an electoral tie by winning Nevada, Iowa, and New Hampshire, which would favor him in the House of Representatives. Could he win Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Michigan? He could. It's not totally impossible, but it seems very unlikely at this point. The polls have not been kind to Trump in those states. In my personal opinion, if I was Trump, I would focus on I would probably focus on trying to win Pennsylvania right off the bat. That's probably the biggest one. If he can't win Pennsylvania, his road narrows significantly right off the bat. I would focus most of my resources in Pennsylvania to try to win that state. Because if he loses Pennsylvania or even Ohio, the race is over. He has to win. He has to win Iowa, Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania in this scenario to win the race. He's not going to win Colorado. He's not going to win Virginia. And he's not going to win, most likely, any of the upper Midwestern states, Michigan, Wisconsin, or Minnesota. So this is where the race stands right now. Her paths to win are much greater currently than his are. If he's to win this race, it is going to be one of the closest races probably in the history of the country. If she wins, it will probably be by a big margin. As you can see, if she pulls off Pennsylvania, it already puts her, 32 electoral votes over Trump. So that's currently where the race, I believe, stands. If I was Trump, I would focus a lot of his resources in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida, obviously. But I would also allocate some resources to Nevada, Iowa, and New Hampshire. Those states, even though they're not worth that much, could be critical to this election if he were able to pull off a tie. Possible, very unlikely, but possible. So those are some scenarios of what I think could possibly happen, given the current standing of the polls. Let me know what you think below. If you think it's going to be a Clinton landslide or a Trump landslide or a very close race as I have it shown right now. Thank you for watching.